Howdy-ho, Andrew, aka Calper here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of my Sunday gaming video. So there's been a lot of rumors about Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas getting a remaster. And that's actually what I was going to talk about today. That was my intent. I was going to go out and find the information on it and make a video on that. Because I don't really know what to expect. Like, Bethesda is famous for monetizing stuff that shouldn't be monetized and putting out stuff that is just the same thing. So I didn't know what to expect, and that was my plan. So there's one person out there that I really trust when it comes to Bethesda content, and that is Mr. Matty. So I headed over to Mr. Matty's channel to see if he's done any videos on Fallout 3 remaster or Fallout New Vegas remaster or a combined remaster, whatever. Well, lo and behold, the first thing that pops to me on his page is news about Cyberpunk. So, and The Witcher 4. So yeah, it's like, okay, I'm more interested in Cyberpunk and 2 and The Witcher 4 than I am in a remaster of Fallout 3 and 4 or Fallout 3 and New Vegas, because I've played thousands of hours of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. So I'm not really sure a remaster is going to hold my attention on those games. And The Witcher 4, I'm not really sold on. So any information I can see, and I haven't watched this video, I just saw the title and went, wow, that's what I want to do today. So yeah, so we are going to do a react video on Mr. Matty talking about news of The Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk 2. And Cyberpunk 2, I'm really interested. So let's see what Matty's got for us, shall we?
Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. Hope you're all doing absolutely excellent, and it's time to have a nice chat about CD Projekt Red, because they're doing and saying a lot of interesting things, and as per usual, it's scarily ambitious, where it's that kind of in-between feeling we had before Cyberpunk 2077, where we thought to ourselves, hey, if they can pull this off, this will be really awesome. But I'm scared because they're making big promises. They're doing that again, and to be frank, they really started with those big promises back in 2021, heading into 2022, where they talked about parallel AAA development, where they wanted to work on the next Cyberpunk alongside the next Witcher game side by side. You've seen how game development has gone this past generation. We see a lot of teams being one project teams. They just spend all their time and attention on one thing for like 5, 6, 7 years. It becomes a very boomer bust type of environment. The game has to be explosive, otherwise we never see that franchise again.
Right off the bat, I have mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, you get what BioWare did, where they had one team working on Mass Effect, which, other than Andromeda, Mass Effect games have been good. But then you also had the team working on Dragon Age games. And I know some people disagree with me, but I think after Dragon Age Origins, all the Dragon Age games have been absolute crap. Like I said, I did not like Dragon Age 2. I did not like Dragon Age Inquisition. I could never finish it. I tried. Lord knows I tried to finish that game, and I could never finish it because I hated all the writing. I hated all my companions. I wanted to kill them all. And you couldn't pay me to play Dragon Age Wokeguard. Literally, you could not pay me to play that game. I will never play that game. Even if Amazon decided to give it away for free, which they do quite a bit on a lot of good games, yeah, I'm not getting that game. I'm not playing it. Just no way. So I understand the concern about having two different developers in one company. But at the same token, if you only have the one development crew and you have 2 or 3 franchises, like Bethesda has now, they have the Fallout franchise, they have the Starfield franchise, and they have the Elder Scrolls franchise. So they got 3 different franchises. You know, if you're only got one development crew, well, you got 5 years on this one, then 5 years on the next game. Well, now that's 10 years. And then 5 years on the third game. Well, that's 15 years. So you're looking at a 20-year cycle to get back to the first game. That's not good business either. So I don't know what the answer is. Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red has The Witcher, which is a bona fide hit, and they have Cyberpunk, which is a bona fide hit. Now, the difference is they are 2 vastly different games. So I almost think you do need dedicated development, like individual dedicated, this group is working on The Witcher and they're focused on The Witcher. This group is working on Cyberpunk and they're focused on Cyberpunk, because the two games, they don't mesh. Like, you could look at Bethesda games and say, well, I can see how The Elder Scrolls could be Fallout, could be Stargate, because it's really kind of the same stuff. It's just the setting that changes. It's still the same gameplay for the most part. Whereas with Cyberpunk and with The Witcher, it's vastly different gameplay. Completely different gameplay. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but I understand the concern of having the separate companies because of like what happened in BioWare. But at the same time, we don't want to wait 10, 20 years for our favorite franchise to come out with their next game. So, it's half a dozen of one and six of the other,
Like what CD Projekt Red is doing here, because as someone, for example, who is a fan of Fallout and Elder Scrolls, I know what it's like to have my favorite franchises have like favorites or just weird offshoots, online games, all that good stuff to support things while you focus on one project at a time, and then one fan base gets put on the shelf while the other is just kind of like spent waiting a really long time for their next entry, and it just heightens everyone's anxiety and anticipation, and you already know how the story goes. But the goal of this video is to look ahead at CD Projekt Red, because the redemption story is over. CD Projekt Red put the cherry on top with Cyberpunk 2077's expansion Phantom Liberty, and now we're looking ahead at Cyberpunk 2, we're looking ahead at The Witcher 3 in today's video, and breaking down recent comments from CD Projekt Red in a financial call of what's going on with Cyberpunk and what's going on with The Witcher, and there's more information than you'd expect. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what CD Projekt Red's up to, we always cover what they're doing, consider subscribing. So let's start off with Cyberpunk, because the amount of updates here I think is really fascinating for a game that is probably 3-4 years out. CD Projekt Red shared that Cyberpunk 2077 has now sold 35 million copies and is currently CD Projekt Red's main source of revenue 5 years after launch. This is from IGN.com, where they write, Cyberpunk 2077 has sold a whopping 35 million copies, CD Projekt Red has announced. Sales of the 5-year-old sci-fi action RPG were boosted recently by its release on Switch 2 as well as Mac devices. Reporting its latest financial results, Chief Financial Officer Pyotr Nilubowicz, apologies if I got that wrong, confirmed that Cyberpunk 2077 has reached 35 million copies ahead of The Witcher 3 in the same period since its release. Cyberpunk is currently CD Projekt Red's main source of revenue, he added, due to the expansion of the game's availability. Cyberpunk was added to PS Plus, boosting new players and further encouraging people to buy Phantom Liberty. So as a result...
So let's be honest here. If Phantom Liberty sucked, like the Stargate or Starfield expansion sucked, nobody would care. But Phantom Liberty is an amazing game. I haven't finished it. I still got it on my computer. I'm still playing it. I got so bogged down with YouTube for a while that I didn't get any gaming done. So I pulled back on my YouTube videos to open up some days so that I can actually finish that game. I can finish Starfield and get ready for and Exodus. Because Exodus is to release in 2027, the start of 2027. So I want to be ready for that game. But, so I pulled back on my YouTube videos and to give myself some time to play. But, yeah.
Of CD Projekt Red doing so well with Cyberpunk 2077, which is awesome to see and well-deserved. I love that game. One of my favorite RPGs of all time. They're now laying the foundation for Cyberpunk 2, and you'll be surprised at how many people are actually working on this game. You see the chart here, and you can see the long-term trajectory for how they're trying to scale up these teams to bring in more and more people to work on Cyberpunk's sequel. They explained in the earnings call that currently the Boston-based part of Cyberpunk 2's team consists of over 80 members, with more than 90% of them holding senior level positions. Having accomplished our goal of building a strong leadership team at its core, we are now shifting to hiring more mid-entry level roles to carry on with pre-production works. We plan to expand the Boston-based Cyberpunk team as the project progresses and double it in the next 2 years. We also intend to shift the split between the Boston-based team and the teams in Vancouver and Warsaw to around 50% in the coming years, as the Canadian and Polish team will be steadily growing in size as well. Establishing the Boston-based Cyberpunk 2 has enabled us to carry on with the development of 2 separate big AAA games at the same time. Despite introducing some geographical and operational complexity, it brought in a wealth of multi-layered experience, skills, and backgrounds. We strongly believe that this investment will pay off in the future, bringing the next Cyberpunk experience to a new level. And at least for me, I found the number of people working on Cyberpunk 2 quite surprising. The total count at the end of July was 116 people working on this game. It's now up to 135. So the project is going along. It's scaling up. They're investing in it more. But you see how they're talking a bit here in this earnings report about making this a bigger sequel. How are they making it bigger? Well, we actually got a little bit of a tease from that thanks to Cyberpunk creator Mike Pondsmith, who was talking at Digital Dragons 2025, and he spilled a little bit of tea. He said, quote, "I spent a lot of time talking with one of the environment guys, and he was explaining how the new place in Orion, because there's another city we visit, I'm not telling you any more than that, but there's another city we visit, and Night City is still there. But I remember looking at it and going, yeah, I understand the feel you're going for, and this does really work. And it doesn't feel like Blade Runner. It feels more like Chicago gone wrong." I said, yeah, I can see this working. Naturally, this got a lot of the Cyberpunk community talking for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, it's going to be really interesting to see a clearly Blade Runner inspired game try to go into not Blade Runner territory. Like, as someone who thinks Blade Runner Final Cut is one of the best movies ever made, Cyberpunk is like a dream game. But in a nut...
Okay, I gotta disagree with Maddie. Blade Runner sequel was not good. It was not good. The original Blade Runner was a masterpiece. The sequel was just bleh, bleh, bleh. Got a hairball like one of my cats. I'm a little worried about this information because I always worry when you have something that worked and now you're going to try to recreate the wheel. Rarely does the wheel get better. And that's what it sounds like they're saying. Is like, well, we have this game and it was this setting and it was spectacular, but no, we're going to do something different in this one. Now, that doesn't instantly mean it's going to be bad, but does it mean it's going to make the masses that love Cyberpunk happy? You know, there's the problem. If you start changing what brought you to the dance, do you get to stay in the dance? So, you know, I can't answer that honestly, but you know, like if they take Chicago and they make it fit this setting, okay, great. But if they take Chicago and they try to change it to something else, I don't know how that's going to go over. We'll have to see as we get closer.
Nutshell, for a lot of people, it's just a Blade Runner video game. I'm like, just? What are you talking about? Just a Blade Runner game? Anyway, that aside, there's been a lot of media over the years, ever since Blade Runner became a thing, clearly deeply inspired by that. I'm interested to see how CD Projekt Red goes beyond those boundaries and explores new locales. Obviously, the second point here is 2 cities. Now, is it going to be kind of like what we saw with Phantom Liberty, like Dogtown, sort of this separate map off to the side? Or is it going to be like 2 full, like here's all of Night City, and then here's all of this other city on a separate map? That would be incredible. But they're swinging hard, and the best way to transition into that point is to talk about The Witcher 4. Now, it's already been confirmed by one of the co-CEOs at CD Projekt Red that while they're excited to be nominated as a most anticipated game category at the Game Awards, they will not be at the Game Awards this year with any new content. So that means anything for Cyberpunk 2 or The Witcher 4 or The Witcher 1 Remake, you're not seeing any of that here at the Game Awards. And I think that's fine because they need to buckle in if they are going to accomplish the plan they are setting out to do, which is this. CD Projekt Red still plans to launch all 3 games within the new Siri-fronted Witcher trilogy within a 6-year period. Here is the full quote. "We've been using Unreal Engine 5 for The Witcher 4 for almost 4 years now, and we're very happy with what we've achieved. I think you could have seen some of that with your own eyes with our tech demo reveal at Unreal Fest a couple of months ago, and we're very happy with the results of that as well. We've already said that, but I'm always happy to say it again. And we're happy with how the engine is evolving through the Epic team's efforts, and how we are learning to make it work within a huge open world game as The Witcher 4 is meant to be. In a way, yes, I do believe that further games should be delivered in a shorter period of time, as we stated before. Our plan still is to launch the whole trilogy within a 6-year period. So yes, that would mean we would have to plan for a shorter development time between Witcher 4 and Witcher 5, and between Witcher 5 and Witcher 6, and so on. This cascading style of game development has scared a lot of people, like you're gonna keep shortening it over time. I know this is a scary promise, and we'll see if they can deliver it, but I love the energy simply because, and this is a somewhat emotional take, but hear me out, I'm getting a little tired of the take your time, you know, let's figure it out over this 7-8 year window. I feel like we've worked this mindset backwards where we're spending more time making these games despite a lot of people in the industry doing this for multiple decades. I feel like we should be getting better, and in turn, part of getting better is getting quicker. I know we're...
Absolutely agree with them to a degree. and I'll justify this. So you do Witcher 4, and it took 5 years, 6 years, whatever it's going to take. Well, you've got everything there. So it should be a shorter turnaround for Witcher 5 because the only real thing changing is the story, the writing. You need to write new. You can't just copy paste from The Witcher 4, The Witcher 3 into The Witcher 5. But otherwise, you have the character models, you have the experience working with the engine now, you know your locations, because you think of The Witcher 1, 2, and 3, they were all like The Witcher 1 was one-off because it was a completely different engine and setting. It really was an open world to the degree that you got in The Witcher 2 or The Witcher 3. But, you know, it was, here's The Witcher 1, then The Witcher 2 came out, and here's The Witcher 2, and then The Witcher 3 came out, and here's The Witcher 3, but it's all still the same setting. It's the same characters, the same personalities, the same backdrop. So once you have that established in The Witcher 4, it should be a quicker turnaround to The Witcher 5 and to The Witcher 6. But it's all going to come down to the writing quality. Now, I have my concerns with The Witcher 4. I'm not going to lie. I don't care how they try to spin it. Ciri is not a Witcher. That's very clear in the lore by Sapkowski. She can't be. So the fact that they're ignoring the most basic canon of lore, that causes me some concern. I don't understand why they're doing it either. You take the Ciri in The Witcher 3, not the abomination that's in that TV show, but you take Ciri in The Witcher 3. She has magic, she has fighting ability. Yeah, she was raised by Witchers, but she's not a Witcher because she can't go through the trials. But she still has fighting ability. She still has magic thanks to Yennefer and Triss. So why do you have to force fit her as a Witcher? Why can't she just be a fighter magic user raised by Witchers and sorceresses? You see what I'm saying? It's like they are forcing a change that goes directly against the lore. And I'm very curious what type of pushback they're going to get on that. Because I guarantee, mark my words, there's going to be a pushback over that. When they could have just basically given her the same powers and just said, no, she's not a Witcher. She's raised by Witchers, which she was, and she was taught magic by the sorceresses, which she could have been. And with The Witcher 3 final, who knows what happened in the other realm? So there's no reason to make her a Witcher. Like some people might say, oh, well, you're splitting hairs. No, Sapkowski wrote it, and he wrote in his books that only boys can go through the trial of the gases, and very few of them survive. So it's not even for sure for boys. It's just a few of them survive, but it has to be young boys. This was the lore. This was the canon. That's what he wrote. So respect your writer's writing. So I have very big concerns about The Witcher 4 with them just ignoring canon and going free willy. They're on their own. Maybe it turns out to be nothing and the game's phenomenal. I hope so. But there's warning bells going off for me.
Always exploring new technological boundaries, and that leads to new tools, and that presents new challenges and new ways of thinking about games, and that's all exciting to see the medium grow. But I still feel we should be moving a little bit quicker as we're introducing effectively new power tools into the trade, right? You're no longer using a screwdriver, you're using the power drill. So I don't see why things should always take so long. Game development is complicated, but I think what CD Projekt Red is doing here is very similar to what Square Enix was doing with the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. You invest big time in that opening project, you get all the pieces right, all the tools right, and then you're content building for another like half a decade, not really iterating in major ways. Look at Final Fantasy VII Remake when it first came out, right? It's totally focused around Midgar. It's about a 30-hour game, and I thought that was an incredible effort. Narrative aside, we can talk about that separately, but they did, I think, a great job faithfully representing Final Fantasy VII while exploring new boundaries within its characters. Then you go to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is now an open world video game, and guess what? There's no Midgar in here, yet somehow this game arrives within a few short years of Final Fantasy VII Remake, when we all thought it would be forever before we saw Rebirth, especially with how long the wait until Remake was. Here comes Square Enix again. Same thing with From Software, another team that just seems to have it really figured out. Like, oh, Elden Ring was amazing. Oh, wait, what's this Shadow of the Erdtree? And it's literally a full game. It took me like 50 hours to beat that and to do all of its side content. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to cool off the Night Rain. Okay. Oh my gosh. And then like Duskbloods, and there's just, Armored Core, by the way, almost forgot to throw that one in there. So these teams that have put a lot of time into kind of getting their ducks in a row and setting up multiple pipelines are reaping the benefits now. We're seeing a gradual transition into that. So I know CD Projekt Red's claims and quotes here are scary, but we are seeing other teams pull it off to some degree, where they are launching multiple AAA efforts year in, year out. Some of them, like a Night Rain, are more creative asset reuses that just focus purely on game design, and that's still a victory because that game is a lot of fun. So obviously CD Projekt Red, a company I have a lot of faith in, still needs to prove that they can do this, but I like that this is the focus, man. Like, I would rather them try for this and fail than do the whole, let's wait like 8, 9, 10 years for a new game. That is old news to me, and I feel like a lot of the industry needs to grow past that. Of course, we want you to take your time and make something special and make something memorable, make something good, most importantly, of course. But I feel like the leeway has been just too much collectively on just how long you can take for some of these projects, namely Elder Scrolls 6, GTA 6. Of course, I want these games to deliver, and I hope they do over that course of time, but like I always say this, man, and I say it because it's morbid and it's real. It's like people are dying between this stretch of time, man. Like, I miss the days where when I had my PS3 or my 360 hooked up, a trilogy was done in a generation. Like, I always use Uncharted as a great example. 1, 2, and 3. All there in a single generation. Okay, what's our next story for the next generation? Oh, guess what? They're going to start a new series in The Last of Us to end the generation. Crazy. You also have to keep in mind that CD Projekt Red seems to be like really in bed with Epic when working on this game. I imagine a lot of this is because of what happened with the Red Engine at the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. And they seem to run into the same issue that Halo Infinite did, which is, hey, we have this proprietary engine, we're trying to bring in people to help us fix this big problem we have, but we have to train them on our very specific tool set because it's not just immediately as readily available as other tools like Unreal Engine, and so that bogs down development timeline. It makes hiring on really difficult, and in turn you get the launch disaster of Cyberpunk 2077. Meanwhile, while I have my critiques of Unreal Engine, like many of you out there, getting in bed with Epic and having them work directly on your game may eliminate some of those technological concerns. I still worry about, and I know this is not how it's supposed to be, but Unreal Engine 5 and the way developers have used it, it's started to get a little bit of a scent on it, is how I define it. Like, you can tell when it's an Unreal Engine 5 game. Very few games have done a good job masking that. And to be fair, it's also some of the way like environments are lit, which makes it really stand out. But point being is, beyond that concern of appearance, I just worried about things that they did with the Red Engine, like how immersive Cyberpunk was in the Red Engine and like how first-person conversations were handled. Like, will that feel factor be gone? We'll see. But right now we have the full...
See, Maddie is talking about the engines, and like, I didn't have any problems with the Red Engine at the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, but I don't play on a console. I play on a PC, and I benchmarked my PC for the game, and turns out I needed a new hard drive, so I went out, I bought a hard drive, put it in the PC, and I was good to go for Cyberpunk 2077, and I could count on one hand the number of game-breaking bugs I ran into that were fixed with just a reboot. So no big deal. Whereas other people on the consoles, well, the consoles like the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox, what was it, the X or whatever, I don't know. They didn't even meet the minimum settings for the hardware for the game, for Cyberpunk 2077. So of course they had trouble. And everyone, oh, well, this is CD Projekt Red's fault. No, this is because you're demanding a AAA game on an outdated piece of crap. That's really what it was. So I don't think the visuals are going to be all that different. Maybe they will be, and I'll be wrong, but I don't think they're going to be. My concern for Cyberpunk 2077 is my concern for all modern games: the writing. They need to make sure the writing for Cyberpunk 2 is equal to Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty is equal to Cyberpunk 2077. Because the writing for 77 and for Phantom Liberty were off the wall excellent. And if you get into Cyberpunk 2 and the writing's not as good, that's going to kill the game beyond anything else. And it's the same for The Witcher 4. It's like I've already talked about the continuity problem that I can see blowing up on them. But if The Witcher 4 is, well, I'll go to an extreme. If it's Dragon Age Wokeguard, The Witcher 4 is going to fail. Simple as that. People are, no matter who the lead character is, people want what they saw in The Witcher 1, 2, and 3. So if your writing does not compare to those 3 games, you've lost the battle already. So, yeah, I'm not really all that focused. Like, I think Cyberpunk 2077 is why I got a new video card. I didn't need a new video card. Like, my 1080 Ti was running this game just fine, but it did not have ray tracing. It did not have DLSS capability. And I was looking at the screenshots online going, I want my game to look like that. So I went out and I bought a new graphics card, even though I didn't need it at the time, just so I could get ray tracing and DLSS. And I'm super stoked that I did. But yeah, it's like visuals. I mean, CD Projekt Red, I have no doubt, is going to give us top quality visuals no matter what engine they use. My concern is the writing. The writing needs to compare. And we're not going to know that until the game releases.
Full development team update for October 31st. And you can see here that right now 447 people are working on The Witcher 4. They're only up 3 people from July. So they've been steadily working with a 400 plus person team for a while now. Meanwhile, you're seeing Cyberpunk had the pretty major scale up. But the question with all of this ambition is, when are we getting it? Well, CD Projekt Red talked a little bit about this in their fiscal year 2024 earnings report. They said back in 2022 that The Witcher 4 was at least 3 years away. So that means, like, hey, time's up, right? So what is the answer? Well, CD Projekt Red already ruled out 2026. It's not happening next year. What about 27? They said in a Q&A, we're not going to announce the precise launch date for the game. All we can share now for more visibility for investors is that the game will not be launched within the time frame for the first target for the incentive program, which ends the 31st December 2026. So you're getting the game by at least 2027. And what this can potentially set up for CD Projekt Red is consistent yearly releases, or at least content. When you think about The Witcher 4, it's DLC. The Witcher 1 remake, maybe it's DLC. Cyberpunk 2, it's DLC. And then the long-term support of Cyberpunk 2077 until it eventually finally winds down. You're going to see a lot of CD Projekt Red. I think this is how it should be. Again, I look at them side by side with like a Bethesda Game Studios, a company I've covered a lot, or a BioWare. This whole disappearing for a while and then showing back up does not work anymore. And I like where CD Projekt Red is headed. It's ambitious, yes, but I like that they're swinging big and doing something that I've been advocating for a while. I know it's way easier said than done, but this is a tough business. You got to work hard to get these types of results. So I'm wishing them all the best, all the success. I'm glad to see Cyberpunk 2077 is doing well. I'm happy to see that Cyberpunk 2 is well on track. Although I feel like by the time we get Cyberpunk 2, it'll definitely be in the 2030s. But I think by the time we get Cyberpunk 2, maybe end of the 2020s, at worst early 2030s. I feel like that's okay when you think about how they're going to be getting more games out if they accomplish their goals. Like if you're getting 3 full-scale Witcher games in the course of, yes, 6 years, and then Cyberpunk's thrown in there and their DLC's thrown in there, like that's a lot, man. It reminds me of the good old days, as I always talk about. One of my favorite stretches, Fallout 3, it's DLC. New Vegas, it's DLC. Skyrim, it's DLC. Awesome stretch. I'd like more of that. So I'm all about what CD Projekt Red is doing. I'd like to hear your thoughts down below on what they're up to. They're swinging big. Are you feeling confident, feeling a little nervous? Let me know down below. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.
So that's actually really interesting that CD Projekt Red is swing big for both, well, for all 3 Witcher games within a 6-year period and for the Cyberpunk 2 game. Like my questions can't be answered. I can state my questions, but they can't be answered yet. And like I've said throughout this video, my questions are, 1, the writing. Is it going to be as good as before? Because we've seen the general industry, not CD Projekt Red, but the general industry really go down in writing quality in the last decade, with only a few exceptions like Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Fallout 4, I love Fallout, you can't see it because I got the AI background, but I got a lunch pail and a Fallout belt, and I love Fallout. I didn't think the writing in Fallout 4 was very strong. The writing in Starfield was absolutely horrendous. BioWare, you had Andromeda, Woke Guard, Inquisition, Dragon Age 2. The writing was not very strong in those games. So we have seen from the RPG developers a lessening of writing quality. And I hope Cyberpunk 2 doesn't go down that road. There is indications that they are. I love Cyberpunk. I love the Witcher series. I was original forum member for CD Projekt Red. I will not step foot on the CD Projekt Red forums anymore because it's just, the word woke. It's ridiculous. It's more about social engineering than it is about the games. So I won't go there anymore. As much as I love the games, the company has given me great pause. So how much of that is going to spill over into the game? Again, I can't answer any of these questions. They're just questions in my mind. And I'll have to sit back and wait and see what I wait and see. And I'm hoping and praying that Cyberpunk 2 lives up to Cyberpunk 1. And I'm hoping and praying that The Witcher 4 lives up to The Witcher 3. But we're not going to know until we get there. So, yeah. So anyway, what did you think of that? That's my video for this week. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching this on Rumble, please follow my channel. Always feel free to leave a comment. Please come in, tell me what you think of this update. Does it get you excited? Does it get you ready for it? Or are you just sort of meh? Let me know. Also, as always, I will put the link to Maddie's channel in the description of the video. So after you subscribe to my channel, please go to his channel, watch his videos, subscribe to him. Also, if you leave a comment, it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.